Let's go. Another episode on the podcast. There's only one thing to talk about tonight. That's Tyson Fury defending his WBC world title against Wilder a couple of nights ago, or yesterday morning, whenever it was. Just about calmed down from it. But before we get into it, thank you to all the new subscribers recently. Seen quite a few new people come across the channel, so thank you to everyone. And how are you, Shane?
Not doing too bad, Tomo. Not too bad at all. Yeah, like I say, getting over the excitement of the massive fight over the weekend, wasn't it? It was a humdinger, shall we say? I think that's what they call it in boxing terms.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's got to be the best fight since AJ Klitschko a few years ago now, because it had absolutely everything. Those first few rounds were a bit cagey. Wilder looked like he was up for it, bang up for it. Like you said on the last episode, he was a bit like a wounded animal, but he was ready. But Fury, he equally was as ready. And mate, it was absolutely brilliant from the first bell to the end. And those rounds as well, 3 and 4. The only way I can describe how I was feeling throughout those rounds was watching the penalty shootout of England against Italy in the Euros, mate. 1 minute you're like up, then you're down, you don't know what's going to happen, but brilliant fight, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, it's like we said, we were just wondering what was Wilder going to do, how he was going to come in it, what was his tactic going to be, and it's like his tactic was it was like right at the beginning when it was sort of like he's coming in, he's jabbing to the body and moving out, and you thought, he's got the tactics are in place. But it's just one of those things. You can have your game plan, and you can do your 18 months of training and sort of like getting hit with like pads and with Malik, and then the reality is you get someone like 20 stone, 19 stone Fury who puts 2 smashing jabs in your face, and all of a sudden you revert to Taipei again, didn't you? It was a bit like that.
Yeah, it was. Oh, mate, it was incredible. To get credit though to Wilder, he was bang up for it. He done a lot to make the fight happen. Of course, going through the courts, etc. But yeah, he was up for it. He got put down in round 3, and I was thinking, okay, maybe that's it for him. I didn't think it would go past the first 6 rounds. I honestly didn't. My prediction was the 5th round stoppage by Fury. But then, of course, going into the 4th round, Fury's down a couple of times, like quite big shots as well. Put him down, made the most of the count. Didn't get up too quickly. But honestly, it was it was brilliant. It was just like non-stop action for the full 11 rounds. And Wilder, mate, he can take a punch. He was just like on the receiving end of loads of big shots from Fury, but he just refuses to go anywhere. So resilient. I think you've got to give him massive credit for that, because even though he lost, I honestly believe that, for me, after watching that fight and all the other fights recently, I think Fury's won. I think that goes without saying. There's the heavyweights, and then there's just Fury on a different level altogether. But I honestly feel like Wilder's number 2.
Yeah, I think Wilder's up there. Like he's got his power, he's got everything, and even like he was saying, as we're going through that fight, and like I say, Fury's he's put him on his arse in the 3rd. Then obviously Wilder's come out and caught Fury twice in the 4th. And all through the fight, I was like sort of like nervous. I had that sort of like little bit of sick feeling in my throat, thinking, don't blow it, Fury. Please don't get knocked out and not get up. And like the longer the fight was going on, I was like, do you mean he's beginning to get to the point now where he's like dominating Wilder? And part of me was like, I was thinking, someone does need to throw in the towel for the boy, because his heart and his courage was almost too big. It was, do you mean, there's a point where you're thinking you've got trainers there for a reason, and your trainers are there to look after you at the end of the day, and regardless of like, do you mean, what's happened in the fight before, you just worry to yourself like what kind of damage could have been caused. Do you mean, thankfully and thank God, the way things stand as they are, I haven't heard of anything sort of like wrong with Wilder, but that was just my only concern as the fight went on. It just felt like there was a point where he was like out on his legs, and like Fury was just hitting him with them big left and big right straights to the face. and his face was just going everywhere. And I was thinking, Jesus, just go down. If you go down, no one's going to say anything. But that's what it felt like, and he just didn't want to go down, and until we ended up down.
He was incredible. Like, you know, you've got to give him massive credit. He took some big shots, and he kept on going and going and going. It's like, mate, come on. But I think from their sort of perspective, it's like, do you know what? We might be losing 11 rounds, and we might be losing, you know, convincingly. But as long as he's still in there, he's got that chance of catching you with that right hand. But I feel like at the end of the fight, you know, after the first sort of 7 rounds, he was sort of out on his feet. I think if he was going to stop Fury, he needed to stop him when he put him down. But I think the second knockdown in the 4th round, I think it was literally just before the bell. So I think Fury got up a couple of seconds and the bell went. You know, whether if that round had like 30 more seconds, who knows? But I still feel like Fury is the best person in the game to avoid big shots when he is hurt. He's you know, his movement for a big man is incredible. But yeah, Wilder wears his, you know, sort of heart on his sleeve, if you like. He was in there to the 11th round until we literally just, you know, couldn't get up and fight. Obviously, the ref called it off when he went down, that big shot from Fury. But just a brilliant fight. You know, I was watching it, your emotions all over the place. Like you were saying, I felt a little bit sick, nervous, massive fight. And let's remember as well, that was Fury's first defense of his title. Obviously, you know, when he beat Klitschko, we all know what happened to him after that. Then he, you know, went into the Wilder fight, got the draw, beat him, and obviously beating him again. And I just think now that anyone that was on the fence about Fury and his ability just needs to stop and say, do you know what? Number one. On that performance, I can't see AJ living with him in a ring. I really can't.
No, to be honest, AJ, I think at the end of the day, he hasn't got the. We know he's not got the footwork. We know he's not got the movement. Do you mean? And Fury's got all of it. And I think like the thing that we've seen is like if AJ takes a punch to the chin or around to the side of the head, he's sort of like he's all over the shop. And the thing that I thought with Fury, and it's what I've noticed over the 3 fights with Wilder, and I think it goes back more to like Fury's sort of like his upbringing and his sort of like early youth and his fighting on the camps and everything, and just the amount of times I would see him throw the right hook to he's going for it around the eardrum, and he's going around it. He's not trying to catch him flush on the jaw with a clean right hook. The amount of times you see him sort of club Wilder around the ears, and again you saw it. It was like the bleeding eardrum at the end of the fight for Wilder, and I don't think that's coincidence that that Fury hits that part. I don't think it's sort of like off by chance that he sort of gets I think he sort of goes in and he knows how to damage someone. He knows how to hurt you and put it on you. And I think if he done, I fear for AJ if I start seeing that AJ get clubbed with that. But like what you said earlier about where do you see Wilder in like the stands, and like you say, yeah, Fury is up here. There's no one that can touch him. There's no one in the division who's going to get anywhere near him. You have got Wilder there, sort of second. But in relation to skill and what Wilder's got, you've got Usyk, who's in and around there. Usyk might not have the same amount of power, but he's definitely got the skill and the savvy to sort of deal with Wilder. So that would be sort of like interesting. But like you say, there's no one who's sort of coming through at the minute who you can think is going to trouble Fury. I think Fury could do 2 more fights. He could potentially do maybe Dillian White, maybe do Usyk, pick up all the titles, and he can just sort of leave it all on the side. You say, right, I've done everything. There's nothing here for me to do.
Yeah, do you know what? I think if he did do that, you know, go on to unify the division, which I think he can do. You know, like you were saying, Wilder is probably the most unconventional heavyweight there is. You know, he's got that power shot, and 9 times out of 10 it's worked for him. He's just come across probably the most technically gifted, you know, fighter in Tyson Fury that has got a granite chin, and unless you hit him with a sledgehammer, he's probably going to get up again. But yeah, just crazy fight. Like I say, most unconventional fight against Tyson Fury, gifted. like you were saying, comes from a fighting family. He's been doing it all his life. I was listening to a commentary. I think they said that Wilder didn't start boxing until he was 19. So massive credit to him, because I think if he gets in with anyone else, don't get me wrong, it's heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen. One punch can change the whole outcome. But I think I would say at the moment with Fury, if he stays as mentally sharp and physically in the condition that he's in, because we all know, with his obviously mental health issues that's been well documented, he keeps himself in the gym. That's almost like his therapy, his medicine, or whatever you want to call it. If he keeps on doing that, I think he's unbeatable at the moment. I think he's in his prime as well. And that's the great thing about the other night. Both fighters are really in their prime, both fighting each other at the right time. You've not got one that's like 10 years, 9 years older than the other. And it's a bit of a mismatch. Great fight. But yeah, I'd love to see Fury now fight Usyk, win all the belts, retire, and just go out as an undefeated fighter. And I think arguably as well, not just one of the best fighters in this era, probably the best, but throughout boxing, mate, altogether. And again, with Wilder's power, not just at the moment, throughout the history of boxing, he's probably the most dangerous heavyweight that's there ever been, maybe.
Yeah, with power, he's got to be in there with. You can't really say you're going to say it, but you're talking about power. Then obviously we're talking about Wilder, but then you've also got like the explosive power of like Mike Tyson. So yeah. I think when we're looking at power, we're looking at those people.
You're looking at people that can hit you once and that's it. You don't get up.
Yeah, I look at them two people as people who've got that kind of knockout ability. I was thinking yesterday, like, interesting fights, because I was thinking, okay, it's like Fury is at the top of the tree at the minute, and he's at the top of the tree, but everyone below him, there's not anyone who can really push him. There's not like 3 or 4 sort of like fighters in there who are sort of like close on the level, who can like push him like to the distance. So he's at the top, but he's at the top and he can only beat what's in front of him. Do you mean? So I was thinking, who would I like to have seen him fight in the day? And I think that the fight that I would have liked to have seen then would have been like a Lennox Lewis and a Fury. That's the kind of matchup fight that I would have liked to have seen, because like both big fighters, both technically gifted, and I think that would have been. Do you mean that's almost like, to me, would be like a fight of the century?
Yeah, that would have been a great fight, but like you were saying, you can only fight who is around. Yeah, that's right. But I just think he, incredible. He beat him the first time, not officially, but I think most people's opinion that he beat him after a long time out of the ring. Had a couple of sort of warm-up fights, went straight in with Wilder, and then he went straight in again with him, absolutely bullied him, got him out in the 7th round. Had to fight him again when he didn't really want to. It was obvious he wanted the Fury fight, but because of the courts, they made the 3rd fight happen, which I'm glad they did now, because it was amazing. But yeah, beat him 3 times. The only thing that was disappointing as well was the fact that he went over to him, tried to shake his hand. No sportsmanship at all from Wilder. The accusations that he were making after the 2nd fight, I just think is a little bit silly. I just don't think he can accept the better man won. I've not heard any excuses yet about this fight, but yeah, just incredible. But just wanted to get on here just to get your reaction to it, because yeah, best fight I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, and again, one of the things when I go back to the fight and I think about the Wilder, and you just think about the things he did. Did he do the things right? Was Malik Scott the right trainer to fight him for that fight? Was the issue with Wilder, as a lot of people have said, that he just knocked everyone out that was in front of him. So he never really had to learn anything. He never picked up any skills. He was never he was never tested. And what's happened is he's come up against someone who's 19 stone, 6'9", and has got all the tools in the box, and it will teach you a lesson. And that's what happened. In a way, it was almost, I felt like it was like the bully, like the big bully in the school, just absolutely dominating someone. And that's what it felt like. It felt like Wilder was there, he thought he had something, but it felt like after round 4 and he didn't put him down, it almost felt like he was on a hide into nothing. But like we say, the courage and the to stay in there and not to go down, not to stay on the floor until he actually gets absolutely chinned was, yeah, you got to give him your hats off to him. But on the other end, the respect thing at the end of the thing, he should have got up. If he got up and sort of said, yeah, put his arm around him, or just shook his hand, said, yeah, best man won, then he would have walked away with this with a lot more sort of going for him. And that's the only sour note of the whole fight, really.
Yeah, I think that, you know, for any fight, you know, when you look at Froch-Groves, look at the you know, the hatred they had throughout the first and second fight. You know, so much was said, even, you know, it got quite personal at times, but then, you know, they embraced each other, you know, after the fight. And obviously they're friends now, they're going on tour to talk about boxing. But yeah, I just feel like he could have came out and said something. And yeah, he would have gained a lot of respect, you know, for doing that. But yeah, he was incredibly brave, kept on going. But then if you're in his corner after what happened previously, I don't even think I would take a towel to the ring, would you? Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, I wouldn't have wanted to be in his corner after what had gone on. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those, I think. But like, I think and I just wondered if, like I say, he was coming in with the jab and he was going to the body and he was sort of like that first 2 rounds. I thought personally that would have been more on his bike and look to engage when he wanted to engage, rather than having to react to Fury. And I don't think the game plan was quite right. There was certain parts of the game plan which I thought I could understand, but there was to me it felt like maybe his trainer wasn't the person that was the right person to try and put him through this fight. And that was just my opinion on sort of how it turned out, really.
Yeah, I think that it's a difficult one, because I think no matter how good you think you are or how well you've trained, he was putting out videos on social media, but he's not going to put out videos of him looking bad. He looked good on the pads, but you know, no one was punching back. But I think sometimes with any sport, boxing, football, whatever it may be, there's levels, and at the moment Tyson Fury's on a different level to everyone else, and I think that's what it really comes down to is just his ability to get up from big shots. And he's got a great engine. You know, he's not as chiseled as Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua looks like an absolute specimen, but Fury's just got a great engine. I think that's because he's so relaxed in there as well. You know, because as we were saying earlier, he's a fighting man. But yeah, but so pleased he got the win. It'd be interesting to see who he fights next. But before we wrap it up today, just wanted to let everyone know we've got a busy schedule tonight. After this video, we've got Jack, the Punk Kid Hughes, on the channel. He's fighting at York Hall next month, fighting for the Southern Area title against Ricky Little. So we're going to get him on the next. That video will probably go out tomorrow. So if you like your boxing, check that one out tomorrow. But yeah, just wanted to jump on here and give our reactions to Fury defending his belt against Wilder the other night.